Hey, what's up? It's me, Awesome Alley.
And I'm Race, and welcome back to the Be in the Conversation series.
Woo!
We have just launched our newest book, Be in the Conversation, and we are here today with one of our authors, Jinane. So we're going to welcome her, and today she's going to be talking about redefining a purposeful life. So please welcome Jinane. Woo!
Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing really well. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, Jinane, there is one question that we always ask on our show, and that is, who are you and what do you do?
Great. So, hi, everyone. Again, I am a third-year student at the University of Ottawa. I'm studying translational and molecular medicine, which is an undergrad. It's essentially a research-based science program revolving around biomedical research and the molecular basis of diseases and all of that. And it coordinates the application of novel discoveries and research in biomedical sciences into practical applications in clinical or pharmaceutical settings. So that's essentially what I study. I enjoy it a lot. I'm very into science, and so in my free time, that's not just me. In my free time, I love volunteering. I love, working with kids in schools. I also do peer help and mentoring for high school students going into university. So that's essentially how I got to the idea of, the purpose, and that's how I essentially started writing this chapter. I also have a very deep interest in art. I actually started painting 3 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. It's just something therapeutic for me and something to, keep my creativity flowing. So yeah, that's essentially who I am and what I do.
Wow, so you're the all-around volunteer community girl. Everybody knows who Jinane is. She'll help you out in university. She'll help you out when you're small. She'll help you out all the way up to graduate right there. So that is amazing. I love to hear that, you're helping out, giving back in the community while also, developing and living, your own life and your own purpose. So which is what your chapter is about. So can you tell us in 3 sentences maybe what your chapter is about?
Yeah, for sure. So my chapter is about redefining our life's purpose. That's the title, but I essentially tell people or talk about how this has shifted and taken a completely different, and I like to describe it as a dark path over the years. And I talk about, the factors that heavily influence our purpose or our decisions in life and the journey we want to take or the path that we want to set foot on. So I talk about these factors, and I talk about how we could focus on our journey and figure out what our purpose in life is. I'm obviously not giving people answers. I can't tell people what their purpose in life is, but I'm giving them a different perspective on how to figure out what their purpose is and just look back on their own decisions and realize if that's really what they want to do, or is it just a product of society and community affecting this.
Oh,
so can you share a little bit about about just more about your personal story and how has it influenced your chapter, because you are talking about purpose. So have you found your purpose? How did you find it? Give us a little more insight into that.
Yeah, for sure. So up to the summer of 2019, I was completely oblivious. So I went into life just doing what I was supposed to do or what I was expected to do, and I never really questioned what I was doing or my decisions or how my decisions were formulated or how my decisions were being born, until just this conversation or this thought just kept popping into my mind that I had to deal with it. I can't just keep having the same thought over and over again without finding a solution, because it's just draining. It's mentally draining, and it's taking. I like to think of it as taking the place of another thought or idea that could be life changing. So I started thinking about, what I want to do in life and my decisions so far, and if that's really what I want to do, or is it like being affected or influenced by people or TV, or what do we see on social media, or what we read, or what I read essentially.
Mm.
So that's how I started thinking about my own purpose. I can tell you 100%, I haven't figured out what I want to do, my whole life. It's not something that, at least in my opinion, you figure out overnight. Like some people take 2-3 years to figure out, what they want to do, make sure it's something they really want to do, and not, according to the social clock, or um, the world that we live in, or the era that we live in now. But I do have an idea. I do have a blueprint, as I like to say, or I like to describe it, and it's heading towards, first, something that gives me joy, while also adding some good to the world. That's how I like to think purposes should be, or purposes should revolve around. I'm definitely interested in, as I said, the healthcare system, and trying to bring, new ideas to the table. Try to get use of people's creativity and uniqueness, because that's what I noticed is kind of, I don't know, decreasing or dimming down.
Yes. It's getting like lost, you could say. Yeah.
Exactly. You can definitely see it everywhere. Individuality is being lost. People are essentially becoming copies of each other,
Mm-hmm.
which is very sad, because every single person is different, has different ideas, different stuff to bring to the world.
I 100% agree with you that our uniqueness as humans and individuals is being lost, right? Because we all go through the same system. That not to bash on the education system right now. That's for another topic or another day. But we all go through the same process, the same thing. And then once you hit 18, right, it's like, all right, where are you going to go in life?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That gap year, you're seen as being lazy, or while some people do that for laziness, a majority do that to kind of figure out where to go, because they have no idea, they feel lost.
Yeah.
It's like they feel stressed out and overwhelmed because they don't know where to go. And it's interesting to see how the shift, you brought it up earlier with our new era, right? A more Gen Z's and millennials are staying at home with their parents because everything's getting more expensive, and then they're viewed also as, okay, you're lazy, you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, when they're actually putting in the same amount of hours, working just as hard, but because of the increase in inflation of everything has gone up.
Yes,
They can't afford it anymore. So I'm glad that you shedding some light on the purpose. And I 100% agree with you about the lack of creativity and uniqueness happening.
And I just also I think that goes right into our next question, in terms of seeing a lot of people now being judged by their productivity. How well can you work in groups? How much degrees do you have? How much experience do you have? And it's just this influx of having so much on your back without actually getting into the workforce. So why do you think, Jinane, why do you think that people view society based around productivity? Like, what is the secret? What's it like? What's society like in your opinion? And how can you help some of the youth that are actually watching this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very complicated in my opinion, and I agree with what Ali said a while ago. It's all being based on statistics, like your grades, your marks, your salary, your fame, everything. So I think society, because people stopped caring about each other, they stopped caring about mental health and how people's emotions, how people live, helping other people, kindness. It's kind of being lost over the years, where, if you look at it, we're kind of becoming living this robotic life, You know, we go to work, we go to school, we come back, we do the stuff, and then we go to sleep, and we repeat. So society stopped looking at people as people. They're looking at people as numbers, and this is why everyone looks at people as, you know, on what they bring to the table, on their you know, their numbers, their statistics, their labels.
Yeah.
That's the most you know, important thing. They look at labels, and they also label people. So if you kind of look back and think about, you know, how labels came into place, I can't really like find a point in history where, you know, labels on people started. You know, what's good, what's bad, what's worth it, what's successful, what's a failure. All these terms kind of you know, shifted, and they got lost in time, and that's how, you know, society started looking at people as, you know, just productivity or what they bring to the table. And it's something that doesn't have to be, it's mostly not creative. It's just, you know, doing their work, and that's it. People stopped looking, or, you know, wanting to hear answers, other ideas or other answers, or what people think about certain stuff. It's just, you know, doing their work, and that's it. And they're scared of, you know, bringing other ideas into the table, because they're scared of change. Everyone's scared of change.
I think you brought a really good point about the ideas right there. You know, bringing up the ideas, fear of change, and also fear of rejection, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, be seen as the weird person. Like, that makes no sense, right? Bringing up that change, and also I would kind of agree with, like, when society started putting labels and stuff on people. I would say it's like once we started grouping together into, you know, colonies, and, you know, okay, back then, okay, you're the gatherer, you're the hunter, right? You have the roles in society,
Exactly.
and they kind of work with one another, and then this built up, and then the early 2000s came along, right? Okay, you got World War One happened, and then you had the Great Depression, World War Two, and then through the historical you know, problems, they had to increase the education levels. At that point. All right, we don't have enough skilled people. You gotta start working the factories to fight for your, you know, your country and stuff at that time. And then from there, this is when we had the big shift into consumerism, right? And this is where I think a lot of people, from like the 1920s all the way to 1960, this is where I think, okay, people were very creative, extremely creative. They had the different inventions. This is where, like, the quote unquote American dream, I think, this is where it came into play, was 1920s to 1960s, and then from the 70s on to early 2000s, and even to now, I think that's where it started to die down, right? Because I love seeing vintage magazines and stuff, and vintage cars and whatever, because they're like, damn, what, like, these guys were crazy creating whole different types of
You kind of see the whole thinking pattern behind bringing this into life. Like, if magazines or cars or whatever that is ancient history or vintage, it's so cool, and it's very precious, in my opinion, to see the product and then trying to think about how people, you know, formulated their ideas to create this. And I remember from my high school, it's actually very sad, in my opinion. I remember from my high school, people who got very high grades had a lot of pressure and expectations on them. For example, people who were, you know, the first in their class, or whatever, they were expected to be doctors or engineers. And now I know these people, and they started off as engineers, and then they shifted to math, for example, arts and English, or arts and math. And it's, you know, when I also hear like back talk on these people, you know, like, whatever, people in power, they say, oh, you know, like they kind of took all their, you know, grades and put them in the trash. And it's so sad. Like, it's heartbreaking when I hear this, because they're essentially saying, you know, the arts and, you know, whatever, English doesn't matter, or it's not, these people should do more, or have, what is more, and you know, take a different path or journey in life, because they had these high grades. So it's also very, and then they get shocked when people who didn't have as much of high grades as these people go into, very demanding, everything is demanding, but
Yeah.
very, competitive fields like medicine or engineer. So yeah, that's this whole labeling system kind of can, is part of why society is like that nowadays.
Exactly, because you're even looking at, as you just said, like just now, having the expectations for people who didn't even get the grades. They had the expectations of being in a certain field or going into the trades or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with the trades, because it's not talked about enough. Like you said, you have the doctor, the engineer, the lawyer, the this, the that. But even so, your grades, I think that's the great thing about grades, is that the grades don't necessarily showcase your mental strength. It showcases your focus, your memorization, your hard work, but does it show your mental strength for demanding jobs such as a doctor and a lawyer versus somebody who would just have to study it, memorize it, and go for it? Say they didn't have the best
ability to regurgitate.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not even like the memorization, but the ability to understand and adapt and use that leadership skills in there, which is why it's so good to like join extracurricular clubs or do outside activities that really, put all of this together. But
And I think that brings up another great point, actually. Earlier talking about people with the high grades, right? How they would focus all their time into getting the grades, right? They wouldn't necessarily. I know some people who just focus grade. School is the most important thing, but they don't have the life outside of school. Like, what else do you do, right?
Or the actual learning.
Exactly. They just memorizing it and putting it back down. And that's what I personally started to realize sometimes is like, damn, I just feel like I'm not actually learning it, but just memorizing it to put it back. I would do that, right? Or when my mom would tell me like, oh, when you were learning to read, right, when I was like a kid, you wouldn't look at the words and read it. You would just memorize the things that I was saying and say. So it looked like I was progressing, right? But I was just memorizing it back, not learning how to properly read from that. And then when you focus so much into one thing, right, like school, and we're not hating on school.
We're not hating on school or people with high grades.
For sure. Like, okay, it's okay to focus, put in the work, put in the time, right, but also give yourself that relaxation to explore your other interests, do the other things, and experience other things to see where do you really feel comfortable fitting into.
Exactly. And, Jinane, you are a very passionate person. You're very passionate about this topic. So what do you think should be some pillars or principles that people should live their lives by?
I think people should first focus on living a life that will give them joy. I know this is not going to happen on a daily basis. People are not going to feel 100% happy all the time, or else it wouldn't be something that we can appreciate or distinguish from when we're just feeling, meh. So focus on doing things that will give you joy, no matter what the label in society is, because in that way we can change the labels. Who would have thought that youth, just like you and I, can create books or give or even just give them the attention or the love and appreciation that they deserve, because people just stop looking at, they just totally ignore people until they reach a certain age or a certain place in society, and this is when people start paying attention to these people, and they don't even give us a chance, everyone, I'm saying everyone, to create or to see what we can bring to the table. So that's labels for me. So pillars are living a life that will give you joy, doing things that you enjoy, and it's not something, just like I said, it's not something that will just happen overnight. It requires a lot of mental effort. It can be overwhelming. It can give you anxiety because you're facing some really important questions in your life and you need answers to those. And another thing I want to say is just the pressure from society to have these answers now. You can take your time. People can take years, 2 years, until they figure out what they really what can they what can
Really
what
want.
they do or want, and start their journey. So being doing good, being kind, helping other people when possible, having confidence in what we do, and the most important, in my opinion, is being content. Because if you're not content, you'll never be proud of what you accomplish or what you have, and you'll always live in fear and insecurity, and just always comparing yourself to other people, or all of that, and you'll never be proud of what you've done.
Oh, I love that. I love that. One thing you said that really gives you joy actually is helping other people, right?
Yeah.
That's something that we don't tend to think about so much. Like, all right, how can I do this? How can I do this? But helping another person just by doing the simplest things. If it's a person who can't pay for the lunch one day and you got a little extra cash, helping them out by buying that food. They'll light up. They'll be grateful for you. They might not show you that gratefulness, but you will feel a sense of joy. Like, damn, I did something good. I helped someone out. And then, sometimes you'll get that afterthought, like, damn, they didn't show me no recognition. But when you're at that point, just realize it's not about the recognition. You did it out of a good deed to help another person. It's about, thinking, sometimes let me just help out another person. Let me be bigger than myself.
Exactly.
Someone else is more in need than me at this moment. So thank you, Jinane, so much. We're going to go quickly into our speed round questions. You got 30 seconds on the
30 seconds. And we got some love over here.
We got some loves and likes on Instagram. Thank you so much. Join the conversation. Comment down. How do you think you should be living a more purposeful life? If you're loving Jinane, hit the likes, hit the loves. Let us know. She's rocking it, in my opinion, so far. So, are you ready for the this or that part speed round?
Yes, for sure. Go ahead.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Do you prefer water or soda?
Water.
Personal development books or fiction books?
Personal development.
Online school or in person?
In person.
Medical science or computer science?
Medical science.
Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Would you rather go to Australia or France?
Australia.
Italy or Saudi Arabia?
Italy.
And the last one, do you prefer a rom-com or a thriller movie?
A thriller.
Thriller. Ooh, she like get you going. She like the heart rate pumping.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thank you so much, Jinane, and thank you to our guests who have been on here today. This was absolutely it was a heartfelt, impactful conversation, and we are really happy that you were able to join us. Make sure that you grab your copy on Amazon.
Woo!
Just look up "Be in the Conversation" so that you can read Jinane's chapter and everybody else's as well. The other authors, you can either get it in an ebook format or paperback. And you can even purchase from Jinane herself by just messaging her.
Yeah, hit her up. Jinane, where can people find you?
Instagram or Facebook. So my name on Instagram is just Jinane, Jinan, Elhage. You can find me on. I've been tagged in a lot of posts from APSO.
Yes.
Exactly. And we will, if you go back to the post that she had this morning, you can also find her tag there. Latifa says, woohoo and congratulations. Thank you so much, Latifa. All right. This was presented by APSO.
Awesome people.
Shaping our world.
Remember, you are awesome.
And you can make the world a better place. Bye.